Hi guys, really happy that you're tuning in with me today. I've got some very interesting news I want to share with you, but first and foremost, we reached 1k subs. I'm super happy about it. You can't imagine how glad I am. I started YouTube around 1 year ago and it's been a very exciting journey. I mean, the crypto space is super exciting, and providing content, creating content that people find valuable is also very exciting. And this wouldn't have been possible without you guys, each and everyone leaving feedback, leaving comments, liking the videos, subscribing, and joining me on this journey towards the next bull run. So I also created an account on Anchor, and you will find this episode also as a podcast on it that you can listen to on Spotify, Google Podcast Breaker, and as an RSS feed. So you've got many different options to listen to this episode also as a podcast, and also get the future episodes as podcasts. Thought I'd throw that out if you're interested in that. All right, let's look at the ETHBTC chart. It's been extremely undervalued over the last, over the last year. We printed the lowest low on the 1st of September 2019 at 0.016 BTC per ETH. And we've been more or less trading around this range of 0.016 BTC per ETH, and the upper range was around 0.029 BTC per ETH. So among this range, it's not been doing that much, but if we look at the previous highs, we had some very nice highs on the 1st of February 2018, and of course during the bull market of 2017, where 1 ETH was valued at 0.18 BTC. There were instances before where it was a lot higher, but in my opinion, this ETHBTC trading pair just shows how undervalued ETH is compared to BTC. And that means that there's a lot of upwards momentum that is possible in the near future, especially through the Ethereum 2.0 upgrade. Many people are bullish, even more bullish than halving, it seems, moment. All right, now some news out of China, and I think this is also extremely bullish news for Ethereum, and that is a Chinese court declares Ethereum as legal property with economic value. And the article says a district court in China has reportedly ruled that Ethereum's cryptocurrency is legal property with economic value. And I think this statement is very bullish. I mean, China is massive. So this ruling follows a couple of other verdicts on the legality of cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin, by various Chinese courts. So the court ruling, ETH is legal property in China. The Shenzhen Futian District People's Court in Guangdong Province, China, has ruled that Ether is legal property protected by Chinese law, local media reported last week. And this means that the Chinese are not barred from owning or transferring the cryptocurrency, local publication ABTC explained. Now, I want to highlight one aspect of why I think this is just incredibly bullish news. And in 2014-2015, I spent quite a lot of time in China. I was an exchange student there in Beijing, but I was also teaching in the north of China. And one thing I noticed, I mean, also just in 2014, is the amount of apps that the Chinese population used to buy stuff. I mean, you could go to any grocery store and you just use an app and pay in digital currency. You could send money to people. You could do basically everything with your app. I mean, you're aware of Cash App and Venmo and so on, but there it's taken to a much extremer level. You could just totally use an app instead of using fiat. And why I think this is extremely bullish now with Ethereum being legalized in China is that I think since they're so used to using payments like Alipay, WeChat, ordering online, all this technology stuff that many citizens of European and American countries, they're still far away from that. I mean, digital payments, many places still want cash. And that's why I think the digital assets market is going to thrive in China, because they're already so used to transacting on a digital level. YouTube introduces new fact-checking system which will hopefully stop Bitcoin, Ethereum and XRP scammers on YouTube. Now, I'm not sure if you've seen these giveaway scams that are happening on YouTube. They're constantly happening. I mean, to be honest, I think it's really silly that people fall in them, because, I mean, who's going to give you 10 times the amount of a certain currency if you give them, I don't know, 100 XRP, and no one's going to give you 10,000 XRP for that. I mean, it's like if you go on the street, you're not going to get $200 if you give someone $10, but apparently many people fall for these scams because it's digital, but probably on the street many people also fall for other types of scams, so it's not really different. So one of the main reasons for this fact checking is because of all the fake news surrounding COVID-19. And in a blog post published on Tuesday, YouTube says it will follow its fact checking information panels in the US following a rollout in Brazil. And its main response is to fight against fake COVID-19 misinformation. So this YouTube's new fact-checking feature will use information panels to verify news articles. And they say, we are now using these panels to help address an additional challenge, misinformation that comes up quickly as part of fast-moving news cycles where unfounded claims and uncertainty about facts are common. For example, false report that COVID-19 is a bioweapon. I mean, the fact that people believe that, just crazy. Our fact check information panels provide fresh context in the situations by highlighting relevant third-party fact-checked articles above search results for relevant queries so that our viewers can make their own informed decisions about claims made in the news. Now, if you're global payments company Ripple and Zero, Brad Garlinghouse recently filed a lawsuit against YouTube because of all these XRP scams that have been happening. So maybe this panel and fact checking will hopefully remove all these cryptocurrency scams that are happening, but XRP has been hit the hardest. Some more Ethereum, the 2.0 news, and that's about the validator client and the company Sigma Prime, and they've launched their latest Lighthouse update, version 11.1, testnet automation, stable Rust-Lang futures, API improvements, safer arithmetics, and multi-client interoperability efforts identified. So this is all very great. Sigma Prime is another validator client. This is one that is already integrated into Rocketpool staking pool. Consensus published an Ethereum 2.0 fact. I've covered many Ethereum 2.0 topics, but I see many questions popping up here and there, and I think this is great. I'll link this down below with many of the other articles that I've covered in this video. So here it goes over many things. I won't go through everything in detail, otherwise this video will be 2 hours long. But it goes over very interesting things like what is Ethereum 2.0, what's the difference, Ethereum 1.0, 2.0, what is Ethereum proof of stake, can I buy Ethereum 2.0 Ether? This is one question I've been getting a lot. The short answer to that is no, you just buy the current Ethereum and the current Ether, and Ether 1 is going to be transformed automatically into Ether 2 with a deposit either as a validator or at a later stage. And then there's many other questions like how can I become a validator for Ethereum 2.0, how do you get rewarded for staking, and so on. So all these questions are answered in detail on this website. So I'll link it down below and you can read it at your leisure. Now, this is really interesting. This is Ethereum 2.0 ETH2 calculator on ethereumprice.org. And this calculator allows you to calculate the expected return from staking Ether in ETH2 deposit contract. I mean, this is more or less the same if you become a validator on your own. You've got 32 ETH and you install your validator client and you become a validator. But what you can also use this ETH2 calculators if you want to stake on Rocketpool staking pool. Now, one thing you have to consider when staking on the Rocketpool staking pool is that a small portion of your staking rewards will be taken away as a fee. The amount is still not sure, but you still have to take that into consideration when doing these calculations. Now, this ETH2 calculator is actually really fantastic. You can change a lot of things. You can change things such as the validator uptime, many different advanced settings. You can change the Ethereum price, and you can also select things like how much of the total ETH is staked in the Ethereum 2.0 blockchain. Now, let's say if you take 1%, now 1% of the total supply is staked in so if 1% is locked up for all the validators, then the staking reward would be around 13% per year. And if it's at 2% of all circulating supply of Ethereum is locked up with all the validators, then it would be around 9.2%. And you can play around with these numbers. And on the right side, you will see how much you will generate the cumulative returns on your Ethereum. So with 9.2% per year, after 5 years, if you start with 20 ETH, that would be on staking pool, for example. At the beginning, you've got 20 ETH, and after 5 years, you would have 31 ETH cumulative returns. On the right hand side, you've got a table with year ETH staked, ETH reward, and return on investment. This is cumulative return on investment. Yeah, it's actually very, very fascinating to see how much it increases if you just leave that ETH in a validator over a period of 5 or 10 years. So this is very good. I mean, 9% is pretty high. It's possible that the return on investment per year is only at 5%. It really depends on how much ETH is staked, how much of the total circulating supply of ETH is locked up in the validator contract. Now, what you have to also be aware of. Yeah, I also link this down below if you want to play around with it. One thing you have to be aware of, this calculator does not take into account the costs for a validator client. If you're hosting a validator client on your own, you will have to deduct the costs from these returns. But if you just use a staking pool, then you can just deduct maybe 0.2 or 0.5% of the returns, and then you probably get a relatively accurate return on investment calculation. Thanks a lot for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll catch you on the next one. Have a good one. Bye bye.